running all over the globe. And so I said, okay, the coming 2 years, I'm totally yours. We're going to travel together. And I bought a Land Rover, and we for 2 years, we traveled through Africa and the Middle East. We visited 51 countries.
Jeez.
And during this traveling, I was in Kenya, and 4 years ago, after the elections, there was this violence between Luo and Kikuyu, and a lot of fighting and killing, and I was in the country on that particular moment, and I literally had to flee to Uganda, and then I was in the north of Uganda, and I thought, how can I go with my family to Cairo, because that was the plan. And then you find out, you can't go through the north. You have the LRA, the Kony abusing children for 20 years already, with wars in the north of Uganda. And you can't pass the Karamayong tribe, you can't pass the Hema and the Lentu tribe, you can't pass here and there. And so we had to go to Rwanda. But in Rwanda, the day we entered Rwanda, it was Judgment Day, that the killers of the genocide, they were judged on the square of each village. So you can imagine what kind of atmosphere we found when we entered Rwanda.
What an adventure.
Yeah, and then we visited the Kigali Memorial Center. If you ever have the opportunity to do so, you have to, because it is absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah, how can I say? It's you leave crying, but it's also opening your eyes on what indifference can do. It is so destructive. I think some people say the opposite of love is not hate. No, the opposite of love is indifference. Indifference is the most terrible thing that exists. There is a huge conflict, and we all look the other way, and that's what happened with Rwanda. And so you can imagine that. First of all, when you're already doing this kind of projects when you're 15, and your father was related to the former resistance, and you set up these kind of global projects on social causes, and you see that's your gift. You are able to mobilize civil society and involve companies and media. You can imagine that, then if this is what you experience in Africa, mm-hmm. that you see that there's absolutely a need for a campaign pushing back indifference and mobilizing peace builders, then I cannot just come to this conclusion and don't act accordingly.
You could stand back like so many other people do in a mode of indifference.
Yeah, okay, but maybe these people never developed other projects, so they think they can't, but yeah, I know this kind of thing. You can develop such a movement if you're having a lot of dedication and willpower. And so I thought, now let's at least try. It's absurd that there is not yet such a global, young, positive, bottom-up, east-west positive peace initiative. It doesn't exist. The number of conflicts is rising, the number of tensions between East and West are rising, and all governments in the world spend more money on buying new weaponry each year more. It's $430 billion per year, and that can be easily enough to solve the financial crisis and bring food and education to all. And nobody is raising questions here. Nobody's setting up such a movement. Now, then we can at least try. And to tell you something else, in Kenya, we suddenly were able to enter Kenya again because Anand, he worked for weeks on a treaty, and he said something very interesting. He said, "I'm now doing what I forgot to do in Rwanda. I'm negotiating till I find a solution, till we could prevent further escalation." And he did this together with other African leaders like Graça Machel, but he was supported by media, by civil society, by NGOs, by actually everyone who, finally decided to not do the same as in Rwanda. And so here you also have a very optimistic part of what inspired me to set up MasterPeace. Because if you see what happened in Kenya, the whole world was involved. They didn't look away, and that was the reason why it was successful. Why there wasn't further escalation of violence. So I think social change, it starts with involvement. It starts with the mobilization of civil society. And how can we do that? How can we make that happen? By bringing in more companies and more media and more just average people using their talent to create this movement. So now here's your answer on what inspired me to do so.
Wow, Ilco, what a story. Was there a telling moment in Africa then that you made a concrete decision that says, by golly, it doesn't exist, so I might as well be the one?
That's a funny question. To be honest, it slowly grew the idea that I I cannot say no to this challenge. I cannot not do it. It wasn't just one day, but it was the whole adding up to first being in Kenya and, then in Uganda and then in Rwanda and then seeing what happened in Kenya again, but also with my own background of setting up these kind of movement. I think everything is sort of, it looks as if everything builded up towards it. And, but each time when I thought, okay, so I have to do this, I was pushing away the thought because I know, it sounds so cool setting up this kind of movements. And you meet artists, and I have interviews with Slade, and it looks as a cool thing to do. But there's also a lot of pain, and there's also a lot of loneliness in the sense of working day and night, sitting behind your computer, having doubts and insecurities and things you have to sort of constantly create new and answers on questions that come on your path for the first time. It's not only fun setting up such a movement. It will actually, each time when I leave home and I'm not with my 3 daughters, then I'm missing them already. So I was constantly pushing away the thought that I should start this again. But then I approached my companion, the former director of Dance for Life in Egypt, Mohammed Helmi, and I said to him, okay, I think we should do this, but if you're not equally on board, I will not start. And maybe somewhere I thought he would say no. That would be, then I could blame him or something.
Yeah, that would be easier, wouldn't it?
And yeah, but he didn't. That's a pity. And I said, you know what? I hope you will be the director. Then I can be the creative director for the first time. And he's more an MBA guy. But I think it also needs to be, really equally owned by people in East and West. And I think, even better, I said to him, we should have the central office in Cairo because, we both felt that there was something boiling in that society. And we had our MasterPeace office already in Cairo before the revolution. And he said, I'm in. For the coming years, we are going to make this. And, we're trying. Nobody ever tried. So we have no answer to the question, can we be successful? So let's try. And so that's how we started. And then suddenly you end up having an interview with Slade.
And here you are, Ilco Van Der Linde. Here you are. And I just want to recognize you, Ilco, because so much of what you do is in the background and is hidden from the public view. And perhaps you like it that way to a degree. I just really want to thank you for calling people forth into what your heart has recognized as a necessity. Listening to your story in adolescence and in your journeys in Africa, I come to the conclusion that you have a gift of eyes that are able to see. And with your eyes, you recognize a need. And with that need, you opened an invitation, and this is what you're about. So thank you for this, Ilco. Thank you for mobilizing and inviting us.
Now, thank you very much. But on my turn, I want to say that you can't make me more happy than by just joining and just becoming the co-owner of MasterPeace. And if I see people in the north of Uganda, former war childs who now say, okay, but this is my movement. I suddenly don't have to explain what happened in the past, but now I can build for something positive. If I see this movement in Sierra Leone intervening and preventing further conflicts, if I see my team members working so dedicated on MasterPeace, that for me is such a compliment. And I think, at the beginning of each new initiative, you must be willing to give a lot of interviews and be a bit more visible. But I think the only way to make it a sustainable movement is that somehow, somewhere, after some years, other people are talking about MasterPeace as if it is their possession, and that is exactly what I hope that we will achieve such a moment. I can give you one example. One time I had one of my large concerts on the 5th of May. Of course, I still get invitations, and then you get an all area pass. And once some guy at the security gate said, "How on earth name do you get an all area pass?" And I said to him, I don't have a clue, but I will use it today. And so he had to, he let me in, and I was on the stage, and then I saw him later on the day, and he said, "Yeah, I asked him, but you were the founder." I said, "Yeah, that's why I have the all area pass." But I was actually so happy that the guy being the security officer, the one who is, deciding who is to enter and who's not, who is VIP and who is not, that he had no clue that I was the founder, but he felt more ownership than he thought that I could feel for it. And, then I think it's successful.
So, Ilco, as we prepare to close, do you have a message for humanity?
That sounds quite ambitious.
Well, it is. So the world is listening. Go ahead.
All right, now. Wow. Unprepared. Now, I would say...
You are always prepared, Ilco.
I can speak to you as a person. I can speak to everyone. But speaking to humanity, what's the face of humanity? I think maybe that's part of my answer. Don't think that humanity is something as abstract as it sounds. Don't think society is something as abstract as it sounds. Don't think peace is something as swollen or impossible or abstract as it sounds. It is the sum of everybody's involvement. If you think, some change should happen, absolutely, and then we all come back to this one sentence of Gandhi. Be the change you wish to see. Be that change, and the sum of everybody acting accordingly will absolutely bring that change. And so, me personally, I am not interested in the larger political arena and in the difficulties and in the money issues and in the all the politics behind everything. It finally comes down in if people in large number want change, they can get it. So if we all try to encourage each other to start working on peace and making doing using our talents, I think that's part of why we set up MasterPeace. There's so much talent not used. I think that could bring us a way out of the crisis. Also in our own country here in Spain, I see too many people with talents and they're not using it. And why are they not using it? Partly because the question isn't asked,